Tap on the table and say, we're officially called to order. Welcome to TMG meeting number 312, our February 2022 meeting. Okay, how many people that still write checks are still putting 2021 on the check? Okay,
I write checks, but I don't put 2021, I put 2022.
okay, all right, good. So that means you're more with it than I am some days. Okay, so the first thing we always do after the good morning, which is what we're going to do right now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, it's so much more effective when we're in the same room and you're roaring back at me. And I can see I could tell, who's not there yet or not. All right, after we do our good morning, our welcome, that's when we ask Guillermo if we have any visitors today, but Bill Howe already said we have a visitor. So what I'd ask our visitor to do is to briefly introduce themselves, tell us what kind of Mac they use or Apple equipment they use, and one thing that they don't know how to do that they want to learn how to do with their Apple devices.
Well, good morning. I assume that you can hear me. My name is Dale Grant, and I'm a retiree from the University of Dayton Research Institute after 44 years. I just purchased a MacBook Pro M1 Max, and what I want to use that for is to do some photo editing. My background is in photography. I've been doing that for a long time, and I now have an opportunity I've used digital over the years, but this is my first personal digital. I purchased a camera and everything, and I'm ready to go. So I just want to learn kind of basically this MacBook is new to me. My Mac experience has been back with the Macintosh when it first came out, and then UDRI went with PCs. So I've used those over the years, and got very frustrated with the Windows 10, and I decided, well, I'm going to go with the Macintosh, and so that's what I did, with not the Macintosh, but with Apple products, and I have an Apple phone, and an iPad and such, and this is my new MacBook Pro. So,
okay, when you were UDRI, were you support staff, or were you one of the big brains?
No, I wasn't one of the big brains. No, I was a group leader. The labs that were under my tutelage, I guess you would say, I had the metallography lab, and then I had a lab at Wright Pat, which I can't discuss, and then I had a chemical analysis lab, and kind of an electro-optics lab, and they also operated. There's a facility at UD called the Nest Lab. It's I can't remember what it even means, and I was in charge of it. It's got it's science and technology lab, and basically what it was had electron microscopes. It had SEM and TEM, and what it allowed users in the this allowed the lab allowed outside users of small businesses to have access to the very expensive TEMs.
Right. Okay. Did you ever run across Steve Gustafson when he was at
yes.
UDRI? Okay.
Yes. Matter of fact, he was working after I retired. I retired 5 years ago, about 5 years ago. He was working in our lab after I left to help as a support. So.
Okay. He didn't try and tell you jokes, did he?
I probably did. Maybe I didn't pay any attention to them.
You were wise. You were wise. Okay, so are you aware of organizations such as Dayton Tripod, which is for folks that are into photography?
Yes, I went to one of their meetings. They met. I believe Dayton Tripod met up in Oakwood at one time at a church up there off of Far Hills.
It's actually still in Centerville, but yeah, they used to
Okay.
meet at a Masonic hall.
Okay.
But the thing that I just want to say, they're going to be going back to, in fact, they have gone back to physical meetings again.
Uh-huh.
And it's been my experience. I am not the photographer in the family. That's my wife. Uh, that's her hobby. She's actually an economist. Um, yeah, pray for me, folks. I live with an economist. Um, in any case, she found that the virtual meetings, not so much, but the actual physical meetings, when especially the stuff just before and after the meeting, where you're actually talking with people that you can find out how they're doing stuff and
Mm.
whether they have equipment is of value. They also have a series that they may start up again where they were teaching people how to use things like Adobe, Photoshop, um, uh, what's the other one? Bum, 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 bum.
Lightroom.
Yeah, Lightroom, P Shop Express,
Hmm.
which the light version, which really has more tools than normal human beings need. Uh, so that might be a good resource for you going forward.
Okay.
Are you using your Mac to process your photos now?
I've started. I've calibrated my Mac display and all that, and I haven't been out to photograph very much with the weather the way it is, and the type of photographs that I'm interested in. I haven't been able to get out and do those because of the snow. It's been snowy. And
Okay, I guess I should have asked, what kind of photographs, because I get the impression that maybe you were in crystallography a little bit.
well, I did a lot of what our job was in the metallography lab was
Yeah.
to we take a specimen, mount it, polish it, and etch it to bring out the microstructures so that we could
Okay.
correlate that to engineering properties.
Okay, because
So-
I forget that people don't just take pictures of birds and mountains and such. Sometimes they take pictures of very small artifacts.
Right. Well, that was
Okay.
what I dealt with.
Okay.
My interests now are in, and I've had these over the years, but I pursued them in film and darkroom. But I'm interested in architectural type photographs. And one of my projects that I've been working on are public vaults in cemeteries,
Mm-hmm.
also called receiving vaults, and they're not used very often today because they were used because the ground was frozen and the grave diggers couldn't dig graves, so they would put the corpses in public vaults, and so I'm kind of documenting those.
Okay.
That's one project I have. And,
Okay. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next item, which is going to be our news item. The only thing I'm going to start it off and then hope that somebody else has something else they want to share. The only thing I want to alert everyone to is that we've got Apple doing a keynote product presentation in March. The reliable rumor sources, I know it's so sounds so strange to say that, but the reliable rumor sources indicate that almost everything they've got out there is going to get a processor upgrade. So if you're in the market to be buying a MacBook Air or an iMac or a Mac Mini, you might want to just wait a little bit longer and see what they announce in March. So that's all I have to bloviate about right now. Anybody else have any news items they want to share? Rick Cartwright.
Bill, I have a couple of things. 2 days ago, there was a big release of a whole bunch of updates. So they updated the iOS to 15.3.1, I believe it was. Also updated the iPad to the same numbers, and they also updated the Apple Watch. There was a big, a really significant Safari bug that would allow bad actors to infiltrate your stuff. Let's just put it that way. And this closed the door on that. So it is a critical update. It's not just one of those casual things. This was a big update. It fixed a couple other things too, but that was a big fix that they did. and that one's out there. It's also an update for the Mac. So
Yeah.
there's something for everything.
My understanding,
that's
it
out
was
there.
it was a WebKit vulnerability.
It was in WebKit. Yes, WebKit.
So
Yep.
that affected other browsers also. And I believe that's the vulnerability that they paid the kid $100K for, $100,000 when he,
They paid for that one, big bucks.
yeah.
Well, relatively
Because the
big
kid
bucks.
not only showed the vulnerability, he showed him how to close it.
Yeah. So that one's done. And there's the betas are out for the next version. So it's probably 3 to 4 weeks away from another update, but that fix is out there. And I would encourage everybody to apply that update if you're already on the latest before that.
Okay, so just to be clear, so that's for Mac OS, the stuff that's on all of the notebooks, the iMacs, and the MacBooks. Let's see, what am I missing? And minis, iPhones, iPads, and watches. So it's iOS, iPhone OS, Watch OS, Mac OS. And I'm hoping they don't come out with a new class of devices because, you know, I'm getting tired of having to repeat OS.
There is a new class of device coming because they found in some GitHub repositories that are owned by Apple some references to a new AR. What do they call that? I forget the name of it, but it's for the new goggles.
Artificial
that are
reality.
coming down the road.
Artificial
yeah,
reality.
but they have a yeah, but they got a name for the kit. There's a nifty name that relates to that topic, and it was all throughout this code. So there's something coming, but we don't know when. It'll either be late this year or late next year, and they're just not sure when it's going to be announced. But something's coming soon. It is a new device, new class of device.
So just for those people who have no idea what GitHub is, do you want to enlighten them a little bit, Rick?
Yeah, GitHub's a repository. Repository means it's like a place that developers can put their code. So if I was developing a piece of software, let's say I was developing a new application, I could put my versions of the code in GitHub, and it allows me to check the thing out, make changes, or somebody else could. If I have a big team of people, this is really important. So all the members of my team could be working on that code. They check out a piece of code, they make some changes, they test it, and then when it's all done and ready, they can submit it, and then it gets to put into real code so everybody can see it. But it's just a way of controlling revisions of your code so that the right people can see it. Revisions are under control. It's just a piece of developer code is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it's one of those interesting new internet areas where you can see how civilization's going to build on that.
Yep.
People don't hear
It's
about
really cool.
it, but wow. Just like Thingiverse, if you're into 3D printing, you know about Thingiverse, where people share the build plans for things that can be done with 3D printers. Okay, anybody else have any news items? News items. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm going to say we're done with news. I'm going to turn us over to Dan Wyckoff. Dan does every month. We just started a little while ago, but I've been enjoying it. He's going to do a little song and dance about HomeKit. HomeKit, yeah.
Okay.
We'll get out on the dance floor and tango one day, Dan. But it's over to you, Dan. What do you got for us this month?
Let me,
I did activate share so you can share your screen.
okay. All right. So want to step away from talking about hardware this month and talk specifically about software for HomeKit. And since Apple released iOS 15, I think it was, they've gotten a lot more flexible and lax. I wouldn't say lax, but open with apps modifying HomeKit. And if you use HomeKit from your phone and that's it, you know, this is probably not something that you want to consider. But if you have a specific need in your smart home, or you've set up a smart home for, say, an older parent, or you have a number of children that have smart devices in their bedrooms or around the house that are specifically for them, this might be something that you know, floats your boat. In this this product is called Viz Designer, and what is that me?
No, it's me. I'm sorry.
So Viz Designer allows you to customize the HomeKit interface. And what it does that the regular HomeKit interface doesn't do is you can only present specific devices into what they call remotes. So you could prepare a remote for your child that says, you know, that gives them control only over certain devices. You certainly don't want them messing with your thermostat or locking or unlocking your front door. Or you have an elderly parent that, you know, all they care to see is, you know, some security devices or some just general things, and not getting into the nitty gritty of HomeKit. So, you know, it also allows you, if you have, say, a wall mounted iPad that you have dedicated to using as your home base for your devices, you can make a custom background and say, you know, like a floor plan that would have hotspots for all of your devices. So it's really not, you know, you don't have to rely on naming the device. You can just literally look at a floor plan. But why I wanted to bring this up this month is, as you can see, they have a special introductory offer that's only available till the end of this month. Basically for $15, you know, you can download the app and it comes onto your desktop, and then you create these remotes that you share with your iPad or your phone. And so if you find that interesting, take a look at it, and perhaps it'll really help you out and create a really nice interface for you. So any other questions about that?
Very cool.
So just one question for you, Dan.
Yeah.
How many Internet of Thing devices have you played with over the years?
I'd say right now it's about a dozen. I have a lot of different smart plugs, and I have hardwired smart switches.
Your doorbell,
Yeah, doorbell, cameras.
the timer for the watering the yard.
Yep. There's things that I haven't shared with the group, but I wanted to share that specific thing this month because of that special pricing.
Okay. Do you find that it's actually adding quality to your life, or is this just, you know, another thing for you to play around with to keep the mind going?
As far as home security, there's definitely benefits to it. I haven't added a smart lock. That's on my list, only because you know, I think it's a little gimmicky, but I can see some benefits to it,
Okay.
you know.
There's an online organization called Tool. That's with 3 O's between the T and the L. It's basically an association of people into lock picking and such. I happen to belong to that. I would hold off on the smart locks for just a little while longer. Okay. Before you put it on your house. There's some significant improvements that are coming down the pipeline. The supply chain issues have held it up a little bit, but it looks like end of this year it's going to be where there actually are secure devices. I'll just put it that way.
Well, as I said, with the release of iOS 15, there's really been an explosion of piggyback apps for HomeKit, whether it's formatting or specific apps. And you know, I could literally spend the rest of my life talking about all of those things. But you know, when it comes to devices, I prefer to see, you know, how things actually end up working and how practical they are. I know I don't have an unlimited budget like everybody, so I pick and choose.
Just a note, you know, I bought that old Wemo off of you, the smart switch, and it was just to play with. Well, now I've got a bunch of them, and they've actually added quality in my life. You know, I don't have the wife saying, "Oh, we need to reset all the timers." It's like, "Oh, no, not problem. Here, let me. Yep, okay, done." And
So
my
you got rid
concern
of all
with
your
the
clapper
smart locks
devices.
has to do with the actual physical hardware. They're not putting quality into their cores on the
And
locks.
one of the things I'm kind of perplexed or wrestling with is, you know, I've integrated and hardwired all these things into our house, but what happens when we sell it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, do you rip it all out and put, you know, your decor switches back in, or you know, and take the smart ones with you, or what?
I'm thinking it's part, you know, it's part of the benefits of purchasing a house. It's already set up. I just need to transfer all of the controls to new owners.
Yeah, unless of course you want to play poltergeist with them, in which case it would be sort of mean. Okay, all
but
right.
they may not be in the Apple universe. You know, do I have to make that? I can only sell the house to people that have Apple devices.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to what we call freebies, wanted, and for sale. So do we have anybody that's got stuff that they're offering for free to the members? Not quite as nifty of a feature when we're not meeting in person, but we're coming back to meeting in person again. So anybody have any freebies they're offering to the group? And I'm looking, I'm not seeing anyone. Rick, are you seeing anyone?
Nope, I'm looking at the list.
Okay,
By the
cool.
way, before you go on, Bill, real quick, I muted everybody, but I muted everybody because there was a lot of noise today. So if you need to speak, you will have to unmute before you speak because you've been muted. Not that I'm trying to shut you up, but you've been muted.
Okay,
go ahead, Bill.
Good to know you're not following the lead of the mayor of Chicago. All right,
No,
does
I'm not
anybody
doing
have
that.
anything they're looking for in the way of electronic goods that they think a member might have? You know, sometimes we're looking for old devices to play with and whatever, and I'm not seeing anybody with that. Anybody have anything they want to put up for sale? Dan Wyckoff.
Yeah, surprise. Hey, I've still got this 2013 13-inch MacBook Pro, and I think I've been pretty upfront. It's got a little problem with the system management controller, so you can never actually shut it down. But you know, I'm only looking for $150 from it.
Okay. you do realize, eventually if you want, you could probably part it out and get more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure people know what their options are. Anybody else have anything that's still for sale? Okay, I know that there was at least one other item. Now, Mark Georges, who normally, oh, you're still here, Mark. Now, who was it that had that printer?
That was Ray.
Ray, I asked him before the meeting started. He still has it for sale.
Okay, but you have the details on it?
Yeah, hang on here a second. Let me bring it up here.
Okay.
All dress. Okay. It is Brother MFC 7820N. Laser printer. It's a multi-function.
Yep.
It's a monochrome laser. It also has a fax machine, a copier, a scanner, and a automatic document feeder.
Okay.
And he's asking 35 bucks. But the problem he has, it doesn't work. There's no drivers for the M1 operating system.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Anything else that we had on that list from before, Mark, from last month?
Yeah, I already talked to Dan and confirmed everything I got listed on there is still up. So
Okay, so what we'll do then, for those that don't know, we do an after meeting email, and that has a copy of the presentation, and then it also has the list of devices that people are looking for, or that they're selling, or that they're giving away. So you want to look at those emails afterwards, after the meeting. Okay, moving right along. My favorite part of the meeting, what we call help desk. Help desk. Do we have anyone that had issues? And we're going to recognize Bill Howe first. Have to unmute, Bill.
I'm doing bought a new MacBook Pro 16-inch. And when I did my migration in the mail program, I used to have all trash and all junk. And now the trash and the junk is isolated in each individual email address. And I just wonder if that's something that they've changed, or is there some way to create a all trash and an all junk so it goes into that, so I don't have to go to each individual email address.
And
yeah, I've been living with that separated. I've got 6 different email accounts, and I got 6 different inboxes, 6 different junks and
Bill.
trash. And
I think you can add it in the favorites
You
of the
can-
mail. I will double
You can add
check.
it back. Yeah, you can add it back. You click, I don't remember where you click there at the top, but you click
Yeah,
that
it's
thing and you can select which box you want. There's one down there for all trash. There's one down there for all those things are there. You can click them and add them. Because I've added
Oh.
them all back on my Mac.
I think it's you just right click on the favorites.
Yep. It's up there somewhere. I don't remember where, but I know you right click up there. Like Shana said.
if you go up to, you have the Apple Mail app open. I've got it in front of me right now. You go to where it says favorites right on the top in your left sidebar. When you
Yeah.
put your pointer on it, you're going to
Oh, okay.
see a
Plus
small
sign.
plus. And when you click on that, you get a box that says add favorite, mailbox to add, and you got your up and down arrows.
Oh,
Click on
okay.
that and you can select all trash and you can select all junk.
Great.
I just
Thank
had
you.
to do that. So it works really good.
There it
And-
is.
And I'm glad Bill brought that up because I'm working on my wife's 2020 iMac, and she did not have any of that stuff turned on. So that means I was able to get a honeydew done before she told me about it.
Well,
Thank you, Bill Howe.
you're
okay.
welcome. Thank you,
Who el-
Bill Herrick.
Who else do we have that had a issue coming up here? Anybody else have any help desk issues?
Yeah, I
Right.
do. I got my hand up.
Okay, who is that? Ray
I
Ratchford.
don't see
Okay,
that.
I think his name is Ray.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yesterday, well, one thing I found with all these upgrades to the operating system, that it messes more up than it fixes or introduces new. So I spent in the vicinity of an hour and 45 minutes with Apple advisors, and I had just gotten done with upgrading all my operating systems, but they were already out of date. So if anybody knows at that end, I've got an iPhone, Mac OS, and my Apple Watch, and I've got the current OS numbers. Does anybody know what they can verify that I'm up to date on everything?
What
Like
numbers you got? The last
my
iOS and
iPhone,
iPad.
my iPhone is a 15.3.1.
that's the
That's the
latest.
Okay. The Mac OS is 12.2.1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. My iWatch is, or Apple Watch is 8.4.2.
And that is the latest too. That's the latest.
Okay, I'm up to date there. That should solve most of those
Okay.
problems.
I
But-
want to ask a question of Rick. How do I find out what version I have on my watch?
I do it on the phone. You go into settings, you go into the watch app on the phone. You can do it on your watch too, but I
Okay,
do it on the
I'm in setup on watch and I went to general controls, pretending I'm on an iPad. Oh, I got it. Yeah. So I'm at 842. Got it. And they got
That's
the
it.
build number in there. Wow.
Yeah, they add the build number now too.
Okay. I
George,
have a new
George.
toy.
George Herzog has a question. He's got his hands up.
Okay, George, we recognize you.
Okay, I'm back. Going back to trash. On mail trash, can I empty that? Does that trash take up memory on my computer, or where does the trash occur? With the ISP, or is it on my computer?
Okay. The answer is it depends. Okay, but let me just give you how I think about it, and it keeps me out of trouble. When I'm using a mail program, MAIL program, okay, it's talking to those email servers that are up somewhere on another computer. Okay, so the email trash, the junk mail repository and such is actually up there. So my email program is given orders to those email servers that they're supposed to dump the stuff that they have in those locations. Sometimes people have migrated many times from past computers from back in the day where the email servers didn't hold anything. They would shove it down to your local machine. And sometimes people have those legacy setups still in place where it's also keeping a copy on their machine. When you tell it to empty the trash, it's emptying that trash on your machine and on that email server.
Well,
Okay.
I've never tried it, but you're saying I can empty the trash that shows on my computer, even though it may be in the
The way
cloud?
you do it is, okay, let me just get a mail program up in front of me. Let's say you're using Apple Mail. Okay. Apple Mail, you're going to go to your menu bar where it says mailbox. And then you're going to go down to where it says erase deleted items. And in there, the first choice is in all accounts. The second choice is on my Mac. And then what other email accounts you have. So when you tell Apple Mail to empty the trash, to erase deleted items, you can tell it to just do it in all accounts, in which case it takes care of everything. Right underneath it is another item called erase junk mail. And by default, junk mail is always kept on the email server. So when you tell it to erase junk mail, it's just going to erase anything that's considered to be junk mail on those email servers, and you're done. The only thing I learned is you want to erase junk mail first, because some email servers, providers, move it from the junk mail to the deleted mail, that trash can. So if you do empty delete, then empty junk mail, you're just filling up the trash can again, and you have to empty it again. So it's better to erase junk mail, delete your junk mail first, and then delete your trash, that email trash.
Okay,
Okay.
and I think from what you've said, when I go back to my trash to look for something, I'm actually reaching back to the cloud to see what's being stored by the ISP.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And you asked really good questions about email.
It pays to be ignorant.
I would remind you, there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. Stupidity cannot be cured. Ignorance can be alleviated. And we're all ignorant about something. Okay. All right. With that said, who else do we have? Anybody else need help desk today? And
I have a
Mark
question.
Schaefer.
okay, let's go with Derek first.
I have a folder in the trash can. I can never delete. Why?
Okay. It can be one of two things. Either there's something in that trash can that's being used by some program, or the catalog information of the stuff, the files on your computer has gotten hooged up and it thinks it's a secure file that isn't allowed to be deleted. In either case, what I usually recommend is that people do a complete shutdown of their computer, making sure that no programs are running, it's shut down, restart, make sure no programs are running, and then try and empty that trash again. If that doesn't work, then we go to third-party utilities that will force delete that.
This folder
Yeah.
appears to be a something I deleted from external hard drive, external what do you call it, drive.
I know what you need to do.
Okay.
When you plug that external drive back in, and when you take something off an external drive and drag it to the trash, you have to empty the trash while that original drive is still plugged in, or else it will not delete it. So you need to plug that drive back in and then empty the trash, and that should get rid of it.
Okay, I'll try that. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to Rita Sheets.
Yes. I have an iPhone 8, and recently I've noticed there are times when I get text messages that my phone doesn't make the sound to tell me that I just got a message. It's by accident, I find out. And
Is
I
the
thought I
text
had
somebody
all-
in your contacts?
yeah,
Okay.
my niece contacted me this morning, and it was just by accident I saw that she had sent me a message.
First off, silly question, is the volume turned up?
Yes.
Okay. You can go into that contact and specify a specific tone for that
Yeah,
individual person.
But it seems to be happening just occasionally. Sometimes I get the tone that I've gotten a message, and it can be from different people.
Huh.
And I've gone ahead and turned off the phone completely and brought it back up, thinking, okay, maybe that'll help. and it still seems to do it.
What operating system are you running on that?
I just updated to the 15.3.1.
Okay. Have you gone into settings and gone to texts?
Banner notifications, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was in the notification section.
Seems like I have everything turned on that's supposed to be.
Rita, what tone do you have set for when texts come in?
Note.
But
The
try
sound-
changing it to something else and then have somebody text you and see if it works.
Okay,
And then go back to whatever tone you had.
okay. Yeah, note is the kind of the default.
Yep. But sometimes defaults don't default.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Okay, I just want to put a disclaimer. I did 14 years of tech support. And so for 14 years, well, actually it's more than that. All I saw was software that didn't work, computers, devices, I would only see the information technology failures. And when that happens, you're sort of like the cop on the beat in Newark, New Jersey. When all you see is society's failures, you get a very jaded attitude about technology. So, so when I make comments, just take that into effect that, I'm jaded, I'm cynical, burnt out IT guy. So, and again, I don't trust anything that's got a default. I always jiggle it again and check the cables regardless of whether the customer says all the cables are plugged in or not. So, all right, so let's go to Mark now.
Okay, Bill, speaking of being cynical, this question is for anyone else who has recently received a new Mac product with Apple Care. My new product, a 14-inch MacBook Pro, will arrive in 10 or 12 days. But I received the notice from Apple Care that Apple Care will begin tomorrow. Yeah, I know it's a small thing, but and the likelihood that these few days, sometime next year, if something goes wrong, that likelihood that there'll be a window that will be closed on me is very small. But has anybody else seen this in Apple Care being started before the product is even delivered?
As soon as it's out of Apple's hands, they put it on Apple Care in case something happens.
Yeah. So
why should I? Well, this is a question for Apple, but I'm not in charge of the delivery process. So why should I have to pay for that?
Well, contact Apple.
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
And when you get the thing, and make sure that they change the date. Plus, I noticed when I got mine, you can buy 3-year Apple Care, or you can buy it 1 year at a time. So, when it comes close to the end, they send you a note and you can just re-up the Apple Care for another year. If
Yeah,
you
I
just
chose the year to year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I asked the tech guy at the store how long can you continue to do it 1 year at a time? And he said, you can keep on going. So we'll find out if that's true.
On a lot of the products now, you can even do it month to month. I mean, all the handheld devices and all the tablets, you can buy your support month to month, and you can do it for 1 month, or you can do it forever for a month. They don't care. They just keep taking your money.
That gets tedious too.
Well, it's all automatic, but they will take it. I mean, it's really there. So, I mean, they just a lot of options they put out there now. If you go into your Apple support app, you can look at the date for the start on all your devices. So I would just call up and talk to them about it, and you know, you can tell what date it is when they started it, and check it out. But it's in the support device stuff. The list is already there.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Thanks,
would have
everyone.
tracking information as to when it's delivered.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a note to Mark. Good question. I didn't know that. And while some people may think you've turned into a grumpy old man, and you probably have, I think that was good information. I didn't know that. Okay, moving right along. Let's see. We've already done Ray. Ray still has his hand up, so you can take your hand down unless you have a second
Well,
question.
that may be a new question because I already put it down once.
Oh, okay.
All
right, so-
Follow-up question.
Okay. So do I go to Ray next?
Up
Yeah.
to you.
Okay, Ray.
First, you couldn't hear me say sorry, but that's okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I've just made an executive decision. Anybody local that would like to have that laser printer, it's free. $35 doesn't even mean that much to me.
Okay.
Here's the two things you need to know.
Yeah.
It will not, Brother is not making a driver for the M1 chip. If you're using the Intel, you're okay, and it's beautiful. The other thing is, after I give it to you, you're going to have to buy a toner cartridge for it, and then it'll work like a charm. At least I hope it will. Okay, Mark, you can
Yeah,
say,
I'll
you
have to-
can make it a freebie now.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I
So Derek, did you have a second item
I
that you
have a
wish to bring up?
follow-up question.
Okay.
I just checked that hard disk, external drive. That external drive was completely reformatted and put in a new thing in there. The folder I want to remove from a trash box, is one that was in there before I formatted that. And that's why I cannot go back to get that in. So how do I remove this from the trash file?
First thing you do is go into your trash, open up your trash window, and open that folder. Is there anything in it?
They all say 0 kilobytes.
That doesn't matter, though. There could be one oddball thing left in there. Open the folder when it's in.
Yeah, it has all the subfolders, a lot of folders to the right. And if I go to the very end of that, say something called U, then it's nothing in there.
Okay.
To the
Okay.
further right.
Do this. Take and drag that folder onto the desktop out of the trash.
Okay, desktop. Let me see. Okay. Just the top folder to the desktop. Okay, now it's in the desktop. The
Okay.
folder is in desktop. It says you may need to enter the name and password for an administrator. Okay, okay. Oh, maybe this is taking a little time.
Well, Derek's doing that, Bill. If he has to put in a password, that would indicate to me that that's the folder and its subfolders have something, permissions rather than just everyone. It's, something that's restricted in terms of its folder permission, file permissions.
Has he got an M1 machine or is he running?
No,
the
this
older-
is very old. This machine is old iMac 2009.
Then
27
start
inch.
your, if you put it back in the highlight that folder and then delete it.
Highlight the
then
folder.
If you highlight the folder and hit Command and the delete key, that should put it in the trash can.
Oh,
Another thing you might try is restart your computer with the Shift key down.
but I know in the trash can is still there. It didn't move out. Okay.
Tell you what, instead of holding up the meeting, why don't you give me a call and we can try and go through this.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Send me an email or a text, an email, and
You may want to
Okay,
drop
I'll
that in
do
the
that.
chat so you can get it right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Bill,
Um,
did you get that? Bill, Hal, you may want to drop that in the chat. Make sure he gets that address.
oh, okay.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm just going to bloviate for a second. If the external device was formatted with a non-Apple format, so it wasn't HFS or APFS, it was maybe FAT32, exFAT. I'm trying to think of all my different file systems that are out there, and TFS. The Apple operating system will err to the conservative side and not delete something if it doesn't really understand what it is and what's going on. So often what I find is with external hard drives, they're already set up for a Windows machine. So they're set up for NTFS. And so when you're trying to throw stuff away before you've reformatted it, they're locked down with administrative type passwords. So sometimes you got to do the brute force method of doing a force delete, and usually I use a third-party utility for that. Okay, so especially since if it's a 2009 iMac, chances are it's running an older operating system that may not know how to handle this stuff. Okay, anyway.
How long is your
I'm
presentation going to be, Bill?
I think I
Nice.
better move along on our agenda. So I'm going to declare help desk is over. If there's somebody we didn't get to, email me after the meeting and we'll take care of you then. Moving right along to the raffle. Okay, so anyway, best 2022 AirPrint printer review and printing basics. And I'm William Herrick. I'm the co-founder of TMG Dayton. I'm the current president of TMG Dayton, and this is meeting number 312, February 2022. So AirPrint, see this logo that's on the screen right now? Works with Apple AirPrint. Remember this one. If you're buying a printer and you have Apple mobile devices such as iPads, iPhones, even some iPods, and you want to be able to print from them, you want to have access to a printer that has Apple AirPrint in it. And notice, I love these Apple logos. It doesn't just say Apple AirPrint, it says works with. Okay, so they're making a commitment there to you. Okay, so what will we cover? We're going to go over what the heck is Apple AirPrint? What is an Apple AirPrint printer? Things to ask before you buy a printer. And then I'm going to go over my picks for the best AirPrint printers out there for 2022. And the categories are going to be monochrome laser printer, all-in-one monochrome laser printer, all-in-one 5-color inkjet printer, all-in-one color laser printer, all-in-one inkjet photo printer, and all-in-one budget inkjet printer. Okay, inkjet printers are the ones that use ink that has some iron in it, and they use a magnetic field to change the shape and velocity of the bubbles of ink, and it actually is spraying it. It's jetting it onto the paper. A laser is a printer that's using a xerographic process. So it's like those first Xerox copying machines. It's using ground up plastic, which is called a toner. And it's using electrostatic charges to attract that ground up plastic to the paper. And then it's got this hot roller that actually irons the plastic onto the paper. So those are the two main methods that printers use now, inkjet and laser. Okay. So the other thing that I've got here, now we're not going to go through these resources in the meeting today, but they'll be in the after meeting email that you get. These are all from the Apple support site. And the first one about AirPrint, it's got a brief 1-paragraph description of what AirPrint is, just in case you don't remember from the meeting, and a listing of all the AirPrint printers by manufacturer and model. And AirPrint is not a new technology. It's been around for about 10 or 12 years. So that printer list is exceedingly long. There's more than 200, 400 printers on that list. The reason why we're going to provide that to you is it could very well be that you have a printer now that is AirPrint capable and you just didn't know. Okay. The second resource, the second PDF file that you'll be getting is called Add a Printer to Your Printer List so you can use it on your Mac. It's a how-to, a walkthrough with diagrams of how to install, if you will, a printer on a Mac. The third one is how to print documents from your Mac. And yes, I know you're going to say, Bill, we all know how to print. Well, this is going to be all of those other little controls that are in that print dialog that maybe you didn't know were there. It's a good document to be able to have and to refer to it. The next one is reset the printing system on your Mac to solve a problem. And there's a software structure called CUPS, Common Unix Printing System, which is incorporated into the Mac operating system. It's different than AirPrint, but sometimes it has problems. And this document will tell you how to go through troubleshooting for that. The next one is how to solve printing problems on your Mac. And this is more of a generic thing if you've got streaking and that sort of thing. And then last but not least, the golden nugget, how to use AirPrint to print from your iPhone, your iPad, or your iPod Touch. That's the one that you're going to want to look at if you've never been able to print from those mobile devices. It'll show you how to do it. Okay, so those are all resources that are coming to you and have absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the presentation. And now I'm going to pause for a second and ask Rick to sort of survey the members. Do we have anybody that's got a question so far? Or are we copacetic and ready to continue onward? And I'm going to say from the indication I got from Rick, we're good to go. Okay, AirPrint. It's Apple's branded technology for wireless printing from Apple devices, iPhones, iPads, Macs, or iPod Touches, to an AirPrint enabled printer. So it's technology developed by Apple and by HP, and a printer manufacturer can license that technology. And Apple doesn't charge a lot for it. They want people to put this in their printers. And once it's incorporated into that printer, it means that these mobile devices are able to use that printer. It makes it incredibly easy to print from Apple devices without additional steps. For those of you who are in the Windows world, you know about the wonders of printer drivers. Well, an AirPrint printer does not require you to install any drivers on your Apple device. The AirPrint technology takes care of all that stuff. And then last but not least, everything needed to specify the number of copies and to manage in progress print jobs is already installed on your Apple device, and compare with enabled printers, if it's an AirPrint printer, for on-the-go printing from anywhere on your wireless network extends. You're staying at a hotel. You don't have a laptop with you, but you have your iPhone and you're looking at flight information or travel information. You need to print something out. Chances are they're going to have an AirPrint printer, a mobile device printer in their business center that you're going to be able to print that stuff out to. Okay, so AirPrint is a technology, if you will, a service. Okay, so what is an AirPrint printer? Again, lots of people think that an AirPrint printer must be something that's made by Apple. You know, it's like the Apple Style Writer. Oh yeah, the Apple AirPrint. No, it's not a device made by Apple. It's a technology. So AirPrint is included on a wide variety of printers made by many companies. You know, little guys like Brother, Canon, Epson, HP, Xerox, Ricoh, and a whole bunch of printers you probably never heard of that are out there in Europe and Africa and in Asia. So it's a, I won't say it's a ubiquitous technology, but it's a widespread technology. And last thing on this slide, if you're going to be buying a printer and you have an iPhone or an iPad or whatever, you might as well get one that's got this stuff in it. AirPrint incorporated in it, enabled in it. It's not going to cost you anything extra. So you want to look for that works with Apple AirPrint on the printer carton and the literature. Okay. And I'm going to pause again and let Rick just sort of survey the membership real quick.
So far, Mark Schaefer, did you still have your hand up? Maybe that was from before.
Okay, so I'm going to continue on.
We're good. Keep going.
We're good. Okay. Now, yes, this is going to be a review of what printers are really, really the best of the breed in 2022. But, you know, that's ephemeral. You know, next week, somebody may come out with a better printer. So I think it's more important for you, you're going to get more value out of knowing what things to ask before you buy a printer. Now, this is the stuff that people don't do, and it really surprises me. But here's some questions you should ask yourself before you buy a printer, because it's going to tell you what kind of printer you should be looking for. So the first one is going to be, how often will you use the printer? Are you going to be printing every day? Or is it going to be something that, you know, like maybe once every month, once every couple months you use? Well, if it's something that's not going to be used daily, you might not want an inkjet printer, because inkjet printers have inkjet cartridges and those things dry up. And nowadays they've got chips on them where they will expire even though they haven't been used. That's why you don't want to buy up inkjet cartridges in bulk anymore, because even though they're not being used, those chips will say what the expiration date is. Next thing is, what volume of printing? If you're going to be printing, let's say, lots of stuff, you know, we're not talking 10 pages, we're talking 500, 600 pages at a shot. Well, then you may want to go with either a laser printer, because toner is less expensive. Toner cartridges are much less expensive than inkjet cartridges. Or you go for an inkjet printer that doesn't use cartridges, but rather has small tanks of where you refill the ink. A way to save a lot of money. Another thing is, do you want monochrome or color prints? Do you really need to be printing it in color, or is it stuff that, monochrome is just fine? If I'm a teacher like my wife is, and she's working up lesson plans, they don't really need to be printed in color. She just needs to crank them out because they're draft documents. So monochrome works just fine. So if it's monochrome, why not go with a laser? Laser monochrome printers are very inexpensive and they're really reliable. You get good results from it. Another thing to look for is, do you want duplex printing? Duplex printing means that when you're printing out that PDF or that Word document, that it's going to automatically use both sides of the piece of paper. So when you're printing out a 20-page document, instead of 20 pieces of paper, you're printing out on 10 pieces of paper. And some printers don't have duplex printing yet. So just something to think about in terms of consumables, how you can save your, keep your budget where it should be. Another item would be, do you want to scan and make copies? All right. Well, if you need scan capability and you need to be able to make copies of stuff, then you want what's called an AIO printer, all in one, or the other acronym that's used is MFC, multifunction machine. Okay. Again, do you want to send and receive faxes? There are people who still do faxes. They're mainly in the real estate industry at this point, but there are people that still do faxing. Again, if you want to do faxing, you want to go for one of those all-in-one multifunction machines. Another item would be direct printing from a memory card. I'm talking about the cards that we find in our digital cameras. Do you want to have that capability? Well, and do you want to be able to maybe even edit the photo in the printer before you print it? Well, if you want that, you want to go with a printer that's more focused towards photography, which is different than your standard office environment, small office, home office thing. And last but not least, do you need to print on special stock? Now, when I say stock, I mean the media that you're printing on. There are printers that will print on fabric. There are printers that will print on CD, DVDs. There are printers that use special paper for photographs. Well, if you need to do special stock, then you need to make sure that that printer can handle special stock. Another real world example. I am an aficionado of index cards, 3x5, 4x6 index cards. I print out a lot of stuff on index cards. So when I'm going to buy a new printer, I have to make sure that it can handle index cards. Not all printers can do that. So this is really the most valuable thing that you're going to get from the presentation. The sort of questions you need to ask yourself before you go over to Home Depot or Staples or Office Max or Target, wherever you're buying your printers. These are the sort of questions you should ask yourself first, because it's going to guide you as to what you're looking for. Okay. Are we good to go at this point still, Rick? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to just walk through what I consider to be the best of breed right now. For a monochrome laser printer, the best one I see out there is the Brother HL L2370DW. It's a laser printer. It can do duplex printing. In terms of how you can connect it to things, it's got Wi-Fi, It's got an Ethernet port and it's got a USB port. And the manufacturer's suggested price is about $140. And that's what it looks like. It's a relatively small form factor. So it's not something that you would be, you would buy if you're going to be generating color photographs, because it can't do color photographs. But if you're doing a lot of word processing documents, you want something that's small, not going to take up a whole lot of space, doesn't need a whole lot of paper trays for different for special stock. This is a real winner. Okay, moving on to the next category. All-in-one monochrome laser. And this is another Brother printer, a Brother MFC L2750DW. And it's got multi-page copy, scan, and fax. It's a laser. It can do duplex printing. It's got a Wi-Fi. It's got an Ethernet port, and it's got a USB port. And the manufacturer's suggested price is about $270. And that's what it looks like. You can see that it's got the auto feed on the top if you're doing scans and copies. It's got the beep boop buttons if you want to do faxes. The only thing that you're going to find with these all-in-ones is sometimes the displays are not really good. So you're going to see more buttons on the control panel. So there'll be a button that says copy, a button that says scan. But, simple, and it works. Moving right along. The next one, all-in-one 5-color inkjet printer. So we've looked at the first two were laser printers that use toner cartridges. Now we're going to start looking at inkjet printers. 5-color means it's got 5 different cartridges in it. So it's doing, cyan, magenta, CMYK. And then it usually has an extra black cartridge in there. And that's a Canon Pixma TR8620. Multi-page copy, scan, and fax. It is an inkjet. It's got 5 cartridges, duplex printing, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and USB. Manufactured suggested price about $200. Okay, and that's what it looks like. You can see it's a smaller form factor of an all-in-one. It's got less buttons, but a better color display on the front. Your paper's feeding from the back. So, for example, if you're somebody that does a lot of printing on index cards, when they're feeding from the back, they almost always work well with specialized stock. And it has that copy, the auto feeder on the top. And if you lift that up, there's a place where if you just want to do single copies, like a book or whatever. Next item, all-in-one color laser printer. So we're still doing color, but now we've gone to a laser again. Again, Canon. People are probably saying, wait a minute, we haven't seen any HPs in here. We've seen Brother and Canon. Well, these sometimes get overlooked. They make good quality products. So the Canon Color Image Class MF 741 CDW. And again, multi-page copy, scan, and fax. It's a laser, duplex printing, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and USB. Manufactured suggested price, $490. Okay, so this is sort of like the one with all the whistles and bells, and you're going to pay for it. You'll notice that in terms of the form factor, it's bigger, it's taller, it's got a much larger colored display. That's the small box that's off to the right, about 2/3 up on the front of the Canon. It's got its power button on the front, and it's got an auto load feeder on the top. This is something that where if you're doing volume printing, you want more a device like this. It's going to be able to handle, you know, 1,000, 2,000 sheet roll. It'll be able to handle that. The lower end, the $100 printers and such, yeah, you want to be careful when you're feeding that much paper through one of them. You want to let it cool off in between. Okay, now I'm moving on to a specialty printer, a photo printer. Again, the best that I see out there right now in an AirPrint printer for photos is the all-in-one inkjet photo printer. It's an Epson Expression Photo XP 8600. Multi-page copy, scan, and fax. It is an inkjet. If I remember correctly, this has 6 cartridges in it. So it's a specialty printer for photographs, and it uses that even more expensive photo ink. And it's got memory card slots, and with the display, you can actually manipulate photos, flip them, rotate them, do some minor photo editing. And it's got Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and USB connectivity. Manufacturer suggested price, $250. And that's what it looks like. You can almost always tell the photo printers where you can do photo editing, because they'll have right smack in the middle of the front of the printer, you know, a LCD display in color that is, you know, like as large as your phone. Now remember, let me go back here a minute. This is a all-in-one, so it can do multi-page copy, scan, and fax, but it doesn't have an auto feeder. Okay, so it's really more meant for someone that's bringing in probably a existing photograph, and they want to scan it in at high resolution and then manipulate the image. So it's not really meant for somebody that's got a multi-page insurance policy type thing that they want to scan in. Okay, next one, all-in-one budget inkjet printer. So this is, you know, how low can you go in price and still get functionality? This would be for the folks that they print, you know, maybe once a week, twice a week. They print often enough that an inkjet is not going to cause problems. But on the other hand, they don't really want to spend a whole lot of money on the device. So this is the HP Hewlett-Packard DeskJet 3755 compact all-in-one. Single page copy, scan and fax. It's an inkjet. Has memory card slots. It has Wi-Fi and USB. Doesn't have Ethernet. Manufacturer suggested price of about $100. So this is the printer that form factor that most people were already used to. At the very beginning of the inkjet printers, again, doesn't have a very large footprint. Theoretically, this is the sort of thing that you could unplug, pack up, take with you if you're going someplace, and then use it at that location. You see these sorts of printers used by organizations where they need to print out receipts and whatever at, let's say, a meeting location or a sales location, but they're not going to be there permanently. They're going to be moving on. So that's why you want the USB and the Wi-Fi, but the Ethernet port isn't really necessary. And again, let me go back here. Suggested retail price $100. Okay, so now I'm going to pause, and we got any questions at this point? And I'm relying on Rick to scan the audience and let me know if
Looks good so far.
Okay, so then we're going to go on to what we covered. This is my finale. Okay, AirPrint lets Apple devices print on the go without having to install printer drivers. Again, this you might be at a motel or a hotel, or you might be at a convention. You need to print something real quick on the go. You don't have the time to be installing printer drivers. So from your phone, you can have it look and see what AirPrint printers are available and be able to print to those. All-in-one, an all-in-one printer is the way to go if you want to copy, scan, and fax, okay? And then we're going to get into some of the consumable economics. Inkjet printers usually cost less than laser printers. Inkjet cartridges usually are much more expensive than toner cartridges. They also dry out more quickly and they run out sooner. You know, I've got a monochrome laser sitting on the bookcase next to me. The cartridge that you put into it costs $12 and it's good for about 5,000 images. If I had the same device in an inkjet, it'd be maybe the inkjet cartridge would cost maybe about $55 and would be good for maybe about 250, 500 images as opposed to the 5,000. Another item, inkjet printers cost more to operate than laser printers. Yeah, you only spend $100 for the printer, but you're going to spend that much the first time you buy the cartridges for it. Where with a laser printer, you're paying that extra $25, $35, $50, but the toner cartridge is only $12, $14. So you have to think about, okay, the device, how long is that printer going to work? How often am I going to replacing the cartridges? And you have to work out the math on, does it make sense to spend the extra bucks to buy the laser rather than the inkjet? And then the last thing, I can't tell you how frustrating it is to have an inkjet printer and you go to print something, and of course it's got to be something that you got to do right now, and then it tells you that the cartridge has expired. It's still got ink, the ink hasn't dried out, but the computer chip on the cartridge says, oh, it is now an expired cartridge. You know, I won't say that inkjet cartridges are a scam, but I have not bought an inkjet printer in years specifically because of that. I think it's the difference between going to a company where they give you a price for a product and that's the price, and going to a company and getting a price for a product and then they say, oh, and there's this fee and this fee and this fee and this fee that they didn't originally disclose. Okay, moving on, enough with the venting. The last item that I want to share with you is the printer that you want is usually out of stock. So that's why it's important that you not focus on a particular printer, particular manufacturer, particular model number, but rather you walk through those questions about how am I going to use this? What kind of stuff am I going to be printing? What kind of cards, stock will it handle? So that when you're actually in the store and you find out the printer that you had researched is not available, you can then quickly move over to the side and say, okay, let's regroup. What is available and what kind of capabilities does it have? Does it meet my specific needs? And you have to be more agile and adroit now when you're purchasing electronic goods. The prices have gone up and there are real supply chain issues that you're going to when you're in those stores. And with that said, that's the end of the presentation, and I'm now open to any questions that people might have, and I'm going to.
Dan's got his hand up. George has got
let-
his hand up. So I guess
Okay, let me
Dan
get
first,
to
then George.
stop share. And let me get
Hang on,
out
hang
of my
on.
presentation and get my screen cleared. Okay, now I'm seeing the
So,
smiling faces again,
I
except for
got
George.
George first. Well, no, I didn't say George first. You got Dan Wyckoff first, George second,
Okay,
and I know there's some others too. I guess
Okay.
Ray.
so we'll start with Dan.
Hang on.
Okay. Well, I really have to speak up because you're disparaging the lowly inkjet printer. I really want to challenge you to look at a company called Precision Colors. That's with an S, and they sell refillable inkjet cartridges for almost every inkjet out there, and the problems that you're talking about are completely avoided, and the color is OEM quality, and the cost is probably less than a third of the OEM stuff. So I have 2 inkjet printers, and I just love them to death. The quality is so much better than almost anything except for dye sub, and it's a little bit of an investment, but if you have a good quality inkjet printer and you want to keep it, it's definitely the least expensive way to go.
Okay, so first thing I want to say, Dan, is I accept your criticism. Okay, that's how we learn about stuff. Okay, I did not know about this company. Most of the inkjet cartridge companies I've had to deal with would be like Inks to Go, Inks for You. I've had spotty quality issues with those companies, mainly because they end up refilling used cartridges. So the question I have for you with Precision Colors, do they have the computer chips in them where it'll say, it's expired, even though?
No, they are selling you a totally refillable cartridge
Okay.
that you can refill yourself with their ink. And then they also have a little device that resets the chips in those as well.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is, wow, I'm glad to hear somebody's doing that. And then what I would ask you to do is, if you would be so kind as to collect their contact information and then send that off to Mark George's, and maybe we'll add that into the after meeting email so that other people can know about it.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, now we got to go to George Herzog, and then to Harris, and then to Ray.
Okay.
I've got 2 issues. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First is, I'm fascinated by color laser. I know they've been out for a while, but when lasers first came out, they were black and white. And can you give us a little bit more on the technology?
Okay, it's your standard xerographic technology, and okay, we're all old enough that we remember the Betty Crocker make and bake oven that some of us had as kids. Yeah, my sister always got upset because I was always stealing the light bulb because I needed it for something I wanted to do. Okay, so xerographic technology. The first thing happens is you have a drum that is given a static charge, and the charge is put on the drum where they want the plastic toner to stick, and that drum is rotating and it's dribbling ground up plastic, that's what toner is, on top of that drum, and it's only sticking where that charge is. And as that drum is rotating, it's then kissing the paper with that toner. The charge is dissipated and the toner remains on the piece of paper, which then moves into what's called a fuser, where a roller, heated roller, actually melts the plastic onto the paper. Yeah, I know. It sounds so Rube Goldberg that you would think this can't ever work. But that's how Xerox copiers work. That's how they do their thing. And in there, there's also vacuums that are sucking up, you know, the toner that didn't get collected on the static charge, so that you've got a fairly neat thing. But that's xerographic technology at its simplest.
It sounds so simple. And with respect to the plastic, why didn't they introduce color from the very beginning?
It has to do with how you're depositing the different color plastics onto the same plate.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some magic that's involved in that technology. Okay. The one thing to watch out for with small office, home office laser printers is what kind of toner cartridge are they using? This is my personal preference. I really like the Xerox phaser printers. They have small toner cartridges for each of the colors. So you got your CMYK, you know, all the 4 colors that it mixes to make up all the other colors. They will continue to operate if one of them is empty, but you know, typically if you're doing a black and white piece of paper, a laser is not going to use the colors, mix the colors together to make black. It's going to just use the black toner. Where an inkjet printer will often mix the different colors of ink to make black, which to me makes no sense at all, except they sell more cartridges that way. So you have the long cartridges. So with some of these color lasers, you lift up the big lid, a tray comes out, and you got 4 different long cartridges that you have to put in. What most people think of as a toner cartridge. With the Xerox phasers, you've got a side door. There's no tray that comes out. They've got individual modules that you just plug in. You pop out, you plug in. It makes for much easier installation. It just makes it not a chore. Where with the others, you got to be real careful. Okay, when you're taking those big toner cartridges out, you will get toner spills sometimes. So all of the ones that I recommended have the smaller, more compact cartridges as opposed to the big ones. Okay, I think I beat that one into the ground. Yes, George.
And Mike, excuse me, like my quick second question comment is, I had an HP that leaked on the top of my oak file cabinet. I think it's a refilled cartridge I got from Office Depot. I didn't fill it myself, and I never did figure out why it leaked.
Was it an inkjet cartridge or a toner cartridge?
Inkjet.
Inkjet cartridge. Okay.
But it must have. Apparently, there's a tray on the bottom, as much as I could see, a tray on the bottom of the printer that accumulated quite a bit of ink before it actually dripped out of my desk.
Oh, ink sludge. Okay. Back in the day when I was still doing IT support, we had the large format printers, the ones that have think like butcher paper. You know, you've got a print bed that's a good 4 foot wide. Okay. I mean, you're printing large format. And then you've got the print head that goes back and forth. Well, underneath that print head is where the ink that got sprayed, you know, you've got a vacuum that pulls the excess ink down. So one of my jobs was to be the sludge monkey. Okay, so I'd be going in there once a quarter with each one of these things, cleaning that tray out. Well, the small office, home office printers, they don't have that in the manual, that you need to clean that out periodically. And it's because the small office, home office, you're not printing with an inkjet, you know, thousands of pages a day. So you shouldn't have that much of an accumulation. But sometimes bad things happen. If you've got a cartridge that is submarginal and it's letting stuff loose, that vacuum is going to be pulling more stuff in, and you're going to end up with more buildup. And there's supposed to be small little vents and such that get clogged up, and then you got problems, and you got stuff on your oak file cabinet.
Right. That's
I,
probably
I,
what
I should also add to that the inkjet printers do a cleaning cycle based upon calendar time, not just usage. So if you haven't used your inkjet in a long time and you start it up, it usually goes into a cleaning cycle where it makes sure that the print heads aren't clogged, and that's where a lot of the accumulation comes from too.
Another thing to be aware of, if you're refilling ink cartridges, or you somehow have gotten inkjet ink on your hands, okay, you want to use cold water, not warm water, not hot water, cold water to get that off your hands, okay? You don't want to use any sort of petroleum solvents. It's not going to work with it. They have changed the formulation of the inkjet ink over time. I have an original, the first HP DeskJet that was made. Okay, it was black only, and it was meant for hooking up to like an Apple II GS. It had the image writer cables on it. Okay. This printer is still in operation in my household, and the cartridges that I bought in 1992 still work. And when you open it up fresh, put it in, it'll still work. They have changed the formulation of the ink. The stuff that's been made since 2000 dries up quicker, does not last as long. And if it's just in the cartridge, over time, it will then degrade. So it's sort of like latex paint. You know, you leave it in the can for a year, you're not going to be able to use it anymore.
All right, we're ready for Harris' question, I believe. Harris, I have to unmute.
Bartine?
Yeah, yes.
How you doing? You have to unmute. Harris, you have to unmute.
I'll ask him to
Okay.
unmute electric.
Here he is.
All right. I have a Canon MX922, and I had one go bad on me, and I bought another one because I liked it so much. And I use any ink out there, and I buy these boxes like this. And in this, well, there's only two. It was originally 4 sets. I track how many sets I bought when I bought it, and I get pretty good quality. Here's a. I don't know whether this will show up.
Yeah, that's a good print job.
That's color.
Mm-hmm.
This is a print.
That looks good. Good color.
I think it's quite good.
That almost looks like it's a dye sub print, which is another printing technology.
I have no idea, but these, when I buy these, I don't even worry about the company. I just I buy them through Amazon, and that may or may not be the cheapest. But I could get 4 sets here for $28 maybe, 32
Okay.
bucks.
And I have no problem with using third-party cartridges in an inkjet printer if they work.
Yeah, well,
Where I've had the worst experience is with HP and Lexmark and Epson printers that are inkjets.
once in a while, I would say I've run through 20 sets
Yep.
of cartridges. I print between a ream and 2 reams a year. And out of those 20 sets, I might have had 1 or possibly 2 cartridges that don't work. Usually they indicate that they don't work right up front. And because I have 4, and then I have this brand here, and I have this brand here. I've always got printer cartridges.
How much do you print, Harris?
I print between a ream and 2 reams a year.
Okay. So low volume printing.
Yeah.
Okay, you know,
almost something every day, but not big batches very often.
Yeah. See, I was living in, well, I'm living in a household now where my offspring were doing graduate work. So, you know, you got somebody coming to the house to print stuff out for their dissertation. It isn't the dissertation that kills you. It's all of the reference works that they downloaded on PDF that they're printing out. And you go, oh, I need to get another box of paper, not another ream, but another whole box. Oh, okay. And then you put that on your biweekly shopping list. So I quickly learned that if you're doing high volume, you want to be using the appropriate printer, something that's designed for high volume, and typically something that's going to be duplex printing. So you can cut that paper in half that you got to buy. And you want to go with a laser. If you're doing photographic work, lasers do an okay job. Inkjets do a better job. But if you take your memory stick with your photos to Costco or Walmart or one of the other places, they're going to do an even better job of printing them than you're going to do. And it'll be less expensive. But that's my personal experience.
One word of caution about using non-OEM inks is that printer manufacturers design the viscosity of their inks to help cool their print heads. So if you get a lower quality ink, it will damage your print head, literally.
Or another way to put it is they have engineered their print heads so that they don't work with inks of a normal chemical structure.
It comes down to the viscosity. So it's how thick and how the cooling factor that the ink has going through the print head.
Okay. Again, I'll state, I live with an economist, and you know, while people think of demand and supply curves with economists, my wife says no. An economics is really about the proper allocation of resources. So if you're an engineer for HP, the proper allocation of your manufacturing resources is to have a print head that only works well with your ink cartridges, not someone else's. Okay.
So
and
we have 3 questions left, and it's 12 o'clock. How do you want to handle this? You want to keep going for a few minutes?
As long as the members are okay, I have nothing else scheduled for the afternoon right now.
We've got a birthday party, but I'll get you started here, and then I got to go.
Okay, well, we'll keep it short then for you, because you got that halo going. All right, who have we got?
Okay, I have an Epson Workforce 845. And I've had it for years. If the cartridges were relatively reasonable, I would probably still keep it. The thing that's frustrating is the cost of the cartridges. And it appears like, I may be wrong on this, but whenever any cartridge, it's a color printer, any cartridge goes out, the printer shuts basically down, meaning printing anything black and white, if I lose the yellow cartridge, I can't print black and white because the printer says, thou shalt replace the yellow cartridge before going on. So I don't know if anybody has some easy way, or there is a way to get around that fact when I don't care about the color and I just want to print black and white. I don't want to have to be running out to a store somewhere to buy a $30 or $25 yellow cartridge so I can print my Word document in black and white.
So let me see, is Rita Sheet still on the Zoom?
Let's see here. Hang on.
Okay, because
I
Rita
think she's gone.
has had a series of Epson workforces, and what she likes them for one thing, and that is when they die, they just send her a new one out.
Oh, well, yeah, I have not had that problem.
And it's because she's bought the newer ones where they know they have manufacturing problems and the things just die. So there's a downside to having a printer that was made. I'm going to guess yours came out about 2004, 2000
it's probably not that old.
2006.
I would guess it's about 10 to 12 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Because the stuff I've seen since about 2010, yeah, I'll say 2013, 2012. I'm seeing they're not designing the printers for long-term use. They want it to be more of a disposable item. It's good for about 5 years, and that's it. So
yeah, have not experienced that, but I guess I'm stuck with the design, the engineering design that forces you to go buy
John,
cartridges you don't need.
John, do this for me. What's the model number of the workforce again that you got?
845.
845. Okay. All right. So let me do. I'm going to sort of just blow you off and say let me do a little bit of research on it.
That's all right. I'm used to that.
Because I'm becoming optimistic again because Dan gave me that company Precision Colors. I want to see what kind of stuff are they specific only to Canon, or do they do stuff for other companies?
Well, yeah, I had never heard of them before too, because I have no allegiance to Epson as far as cartridges go.
Okay.
I've already bought several printers based on cartridge expenditures.
Hey, John.
Okay.
John.
Yes.
Go to a place called printpal.com.
Print Pal.
All one word, printpal.com. Yours was an Epson
Workforce 845.
I'm not sure how you tell the date on them. Do you know if you find
they don't put dates on them, but this is a remanufacture place, and your cartridges are $8.95 a piece.
Huh.
I've used Print Pal in the past.
Is that $895 or is that
$8.95?
Okay.
It's a recycled cartridge that's been factory serviced, refilled, and tested. It will perform as well or better than the OEM and will often contain more ink than a new cartridge. They
Okay.
guarantee them things for 100% guaranteed, and I've used them off and on for years. And until I quit using Epson's because the print head started going to hell on Epson's. So,
Okay.
but
So with that said, I'm going to
One
ask Rick,
more,
who
Larry.
was the last person?
Larry's the last one.
Sawyer?
Yep.
Got to
You have
unmute.
to unmute, Larry. You got to unmute.
Larry, are you with us?
He's coming. He's coming.
Can we hear you now?
Had a little senior moment there. Forgot where to click. Okay, I'll give it to you real quick, and you don't have to, solve it right this minute. But I got a HP Inkjet 690 6958. The black doesn't work. The black head doesn't seem to clean, and so without black, it's like I could junk it because I didn't pay that much for it anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking.
Did you do the standard cleaning the contacts?
Oh, I've done it, and I even swapped out the black. I have bought 2 cartridges now. I didn't buy gigantic ones. They had a smaller one, so
Yeah.
I had one of each, and it didn't work. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm saying it's ready to be junked unless you got some wizard idea here.
Time to let it go. Time to let it go.
Okay.
The rule of thumb is when you start obsessing about, okay, what else can I do to get this thing to work?
Yeah. Hey, I'm willing to say it's gone. Okay.
Yeah. That's when you stop and you say, wait a minute, let me rethink this.
Yes.
Is the aggravation, the emotional distress that I'm encountering
and it's
from
a
this
backup
printer?
one anyway. It's a backup one anyway that I have at a second computer. And so I'll just replace it with something else. You gave me lots of ideas here to buy a second one. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. But remember those questions to ask.
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So that when the model that you researched on Google and you find out it's out of stock and they don't know when they're going to have it again, you're able to redirect yourself in the proper direction and still reach your objective.
Well, I admit that I have basically a brother MFC 480CW, and it's worked perfectly. And so I really haven't, it hasn't bothered me that much anyway. It just sits over here. It's like a boat anchor and it's time to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.